Good morning. What a terrible day to be black and a woman in South Africa, as always. In the last week, there have been at least two murders of two women. One of them was called Leandra, and she was a decorated boxer, and her ex-boyfriend, who is a police officer, shot and killed her. Like, I feel like that's not even news here. The fact that he's a cop, I was like, makes sense. A uni student by the name of Uyinene went to the post office to do post office stuff and was raped and murdered. Her body was dumped by the person who worked at the post office. So yeah, just another day in ZA. I have a lot of feelings. We all have a lot of feelings. I really wanted to make this video because I'm really invested in how to find joy and pleasure and how to call our bodies home and our lives home, even when they're under attack. So it is consistently a state of emergency in South Africa. The femicide rates are, I think, the highest in the world. Men kill women every 4 hours in South Africa. In that state of emergency, statewide, and internally, how do we survive? How do we thrive? Or, you know what, even at a base level, how do we just find joy in moments? How do we do that guilt-free, and how do we just do it? How do we execute? So this will definitely apply to anybody who feels like they're in a state of emergency. What is wild is that patriarchy and whiteness and imperialism and colonialism affect everybody. Like, not even the straight boys, like not even they're safe. The able-bodied boys who wear boat shoes, not even they're safe. Like, who is safe? Who is this actually benefiting? Because all our necks are being stepped on. And so how do we become, this video is about, how do we become more like that dog who is sitting in the fire, like, this is fine? Because internally, we have to find that. Like, we have to find a sense of peace, belonging, and love and joy inside of ourselves, because our environments are flaky, and like, the state doesn't really love you, the government doesn't love you. Self-care. I have been having a lot of conversations with people who feel the self-care industry is scammy, and self-care itself is a little questionable and problematic, and it is. And I think, unfortunately, the way capitalism is set up is that instead of living in a state of self-care and of replenishment and a cyclic way that we take as much as we give, we are in a constant state of either giving too much or taking too much, always, right? Because capitalism is about stepping on a neck. So there's a boot on your neck and you've got a boot on somebody else's. So self-care is now become a parallel practice, a practice we can opt in and opt out of, rather than a state we just live in. Our ancestors lived in a state of self-care. We don't, right? So unfortunately, it's something that's had to be made into an industry and monetized because it's capitalism. And is that problematic? Yeah. But what I would suggest is finding voices and resources that resonate with you. I think when people say self-care is scammy, they're thinking a lot of the white American
rise and grind, 5 a.m., yoga, green smoothie, yeah, like positive, jump up and down, get the endorphin.
Like, they're thinking of that kind of really in-your-face self-care, like unrealistic and like overly American and cheerful in the way that just you're trying to sell me your product, sir. Like, you are selling, I don't want that. That resonates with a lot of people, but it might not resonate with you. And that doesn't mean throw the whole thing away. Find resources that speak to you, that feel realistic and balanced and honest. Self-care is a radical act, especially in times of war, when you are under attack. When you are under attack by external forces. And we're often under attack by ourselves. That's the thing about capitalism, is it has us attacking ourselves and like self-governing and self-policing. So we're often under attack by our own thoughts, our own feelings, the way we've internalized the attack from the outside. So with self-care, you don't have to do anything overly woo-woo or weird. You don't have to do anything at all. But my belief is that self-care, fortunately or unfortunately, is mandatory. Absolutely mandatory if you are occupying an intersection that is constantly under attack, right? Our bodies are really a site of war and really aren't considered our own. We're not seen as human by men. We are truly seen as property, that our life is yours to do what you will with. So in that state of emergency, you have to look after yourself. What does that mean? Different things to different people. Managing how much news you are watching. The world has a 24-hour news cycle. That might not be good for you. You might need to manage your news outlets. You might also need to balance it. For every bad thing that happens, there's a good thing that happens. We're not hearing about the good. So you might want to find websites or resources that also shine light on the ways we're finding our way back to like compassion and kindness and togetherness and Ubuntu. That might mean definitely investing more in your community, meaning your friends and your family or whoever is there that's a support system. Your work doesn't love you. If you burn yourself out for your work, when you die, they will replace you. When you're one of these people who's killed every 4 hours, they will replace you. Your community is truly where you're held dear. So let's just quickly talk about victimhood, which is a topic that is a lot. It's heavy, and I don't know if I can tackle it in the few minutes I will tackle it in. But this is what I will say. We are living alongside our possible impending death, right? Murder, abuse. And I have learned through my own experiences with abuse in South Africa, surprise, surprise, I have learned that my relationship to victimhood is extremely important. Your relationship to victimhood is extremely important. When something happens to you, how you internalize that messaging, how you take up and absorb and step into victimhood and victimness makes all the difference to who you are on the other side of trauma. For me, I realized really quickly. So when I was being assaulted, there were two thoughts in my head, and I thought the first one was, well, I just need to get out alive. But the second thought was, oh wow, this is the turning point that I've been dreading my whole life, where I've seen femme victims and I've seen what they've become, shells of themselves, withdrawn, withered, skittish, paranoid, sad, untrusting, and really like withdrawn from society. And society accepts that you've been assaulted, you've been raped, you've been hurt, you've been damaged, and so it's okay that you kind of withdraw and retreat and you hold what happened to you as yours, and you just become a complete shell of yourself. And I thought, I can't, that can't be me. I have a way too much life to live and things to do to let someone else's story be mine. If you try to rape me, or if you rape me, if you sexually assault me, that's something you chose to do. You made that decision and you inflicted that violence onto me. That's not my burden. That is yours. If there's anybody who is going to be racked with guilt, shame, paranoia, confusion, identity crises, thousands of rands in therapy, withdrawing from society, it's not going to be me. It's going to be you. I didn't do anything. Why on earth would I internalize what you chose to do? If you chose to be violent, why is that my business? And that is how I personally approach victimhood. I absolutely refuse to make someone else's story mine. A lot of the time when we are abused, when we're younger, we don't have the tools. And even now, we might just not have the tools. Your brain does a lot of gymnastics when you are traumatized. But I know that oftentimes this is somebody's life, and the minute they're abused, there's a fork. It is a dream like deferred and interrupted. It's a life interrupted. In your healing process, once you've come to the point where you have the presence of mind and vision for yourself and ability to do this, really consider refusing the narrative and the fork in the road that your assault has like superimposed on you. It's not your job, it's not your business, it's not your place and position to absorb the guilt and the fallout and consequences for somebody else attacking you. That's something that happened to you. And from what happened to me, what I definitely took home was where I'm responsible was to myself. Did I listen to my intuition? No, I absolutely didn't. For various reasons, I did not. I knew I was walking into danger and I did it anyway. And the biggest betrayal, my surprise was that I betrayed myself. Like, I was like, wow, you really did this, bitch. Like, you really didn't listen to yourself, and you didn't center the love for yourself above what you hoped would happen, because you knew what would happen. Your intuition's like your strongest compass. So for me, that's the only take home I had was intuition. It's happened once, now I know. And now I know what intuition feels like. Such an important, like, lifelong thing I take with me. But in terms of what happened to me, that's not to do with me. Like, hey, that's not my business. I have things to do. I have friends to make and hang out with. I have food to taste. I have money to make. I have my pussy to pop. I'm not going to let the shame and burden of sexual violence infringe and interrupt my life. And that is the energy I think we should all move with, if it serves you and if you're able to and if you want to. If you don't, if you have other ways of coping or other ways of coming out of on the other side of trauma and violence, you need to do that. And let me know in the comment section if you have other ways. That's my way. And it's worked so well for me. Because I realized it has nothing to do with me. I don't have to rationalize, reason, internalize, understand. No, you did what you did to me. That was on you. And unless I ask you why, unless I get reasons, I'll never know. And I don't really need to know. What I need to know was my compass. Did I use that? Didn't I? Don't blame myself. Not victim blaming myself. I'm just understanding how I let myself down, how I betrayed myself, because that matters to me. All I have accountability for, all I have ownership over, all I have power over is myself and how much I honor myself. And so in every moment I'm asking, have I honored myself? What I'm speaking about is not internalizing. Let's not internalize things that happen to us. Because if we even look at the ways we talk about femicide and gender-based violence, and it's always about a woman was abused, women, we have to speak out and come forward. When it's not a man abused, men, we have to talk to our fellow men and interrogate the ways we're abusive and understand and unpack that. We put the onus on women, and you need to understand you're constantly fighting that narrative, that lexicon, that verbiage all around you. When we are attacked, there's more hell raised when you call out the person and name them than for the act itself, right? So anytime a woman refuses to have her life interrupted by the assault she's experienced, it is side-eyed, I feel. But let them side-eye. You have a life to live, right? You have a revenue stream to develop. You have restaurants to try out. You have titties to suck. Like, there's too much to do. There are roses to smell. There's too much to do to let your life be a deferred dream. And so that's how I'm coping, is to consistently remember that this isn't a woman's issue. This is a man's issue. I live alongside men, so I am privy and I'm affected, but it's not my issue. And it's not mine to solve. I know the ways in which I can participate. How we raise men collectively is how we participate if we're not men. But the bulk of the work, literally 99%, lies with men talking to men, and I'm not a man. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's a one size fits all. I'm not saying it's for you. I'm saying it's for me. And that's what worked for me. And hopefully, well, not even hopefully, but if you get something from this, that is dope. Like, if you decide to adopt my way, love it. I think it's amazing. If you have another way, let me know in the comment section below. If you haven't figured it out yet, that's cool. That is okay. It is a process. And our bodies also keep score. I'm ripping the name of the book. I'm also going to link below. I need to read that. It's about how, like, mentally and, like, you can have the cognizance of your assault or the way you're processing things, but your body physically keeps record. So we've got to do that work as well. Yeah. The biggest way gender-based violence and any kind of violence and abuse affects us is that we're silent, is that we think we have to keep it. And we feel society implies and heavily pressures women and victims to keep it quiet, to protect the name of perpetrators. No surprise that most of them tend to be men, cis men. So a very powerful way you can experience your trauma, abuse, is to speak about it. So to stop giving it power, to stop making it this big thing that looms over you or that no one can talk about. No. As casually as you abused me, it's as casually as I'm going to talk about it. And the more I talk about it, the less it has its power. So, yeah. Connect with me on all the socials and let's continue the conversation. Please share as much as you want to in the comment section. I do want to start a dialogue as much as possible about this. Look after yourselves and goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.